Hello, everybody. It is Saturday morning still in Los Angeles, and it's gray. It's gray out. I see the sun trying to peek through, but I wish she'd just go on today because it's a gloomy day all over America, and it's a gloomy day for me, and it's a little more gloomy for me and some of my likes, some of my people, than it is for others because now I'm gonna start this because this is kind of emotional, but this is not to manipulate you. This is me playing church songs because people go, oh, that's Sammy Beam. He's so wicked, man. He's wicked. Not only is he like an open, flaming homosexual, but he lives in Hollywood, California with all the fruits and nuts, and he rubs elbows with the big libtard celebrities. Yes, I do. I'm guilty of all these things, and I'm really happy about it. But I'll tell you something. Deep down inside me, there is a little boy who is a Christian, and I'm going to tell you this. No, wait a minute. Let me do this first, because it'll put me in a little bit better mood. So let's see here. I want to hit number 2, because this is the song that I want. Tomorrow, March 2nd, will be the very last service of the Bloomfield United Methodist Church. That's in my hometown, and that is the church. If their roles still exist, I'm on them. I am a member of that church. I joined that church when I was 12. I tell you what. It was a small church, a big, beautiful church, cavernous, gorgeous aesthetically. And the heart of the church was gorgeous too, but it was small. People didn't come to our church because there were kids there who could entertain them more, or they went on better church trips and stuff. Now, I'm not saying that that's true of the other churches, but I will say that in my lifetime, I probably saw 75 or 80 people convert from the smaller congregations in my hometown to the Baptist church because it was more, nothing wrong with you because you got your act together. It was more fun. It was more organized. There was more money there. There were more things for their children to do there so that they could get their children in there and get them through Sunday school and stuff. At our church, at the Bloomfield United Methodist Church, which our family, my mom was raised Methodist, and my mama was Methodist. Papa was Christian Church, Disciples of Christ, but this went on a lot. I guess it still goes on. Anyway, we were Presbyterian because my daddy's people were all Presbyterian. So from the time I was born until I was 8 years old, until I had just turned 8. We were Presbyterian, and I was totally happy with that arrangement. Again, small church, not many kids in it to hang out with, but I loved the people. I loved the way it felt. It felt holy to me to be in the Presbyterian church. So I did not like switching to the Methodist church, but I understand it. I came to see the beauty in it. I didn't like to go to the Methodist church because my 3rd grade teacher was a Methodist who was in that church every week. When I would go with my mama and visit, there was Mrs. Alexander, and I'm like, thanks, we just switched to Methodism right now while I'm in Miss Alexander's class, which means that every Sunday she can report to you how horrible I am. Because I admit I was a horrible child. Anyway, this is an important thing that I want to say about my little church, okay? It's the United Methodist Church, and it is failing because the congregation actually has died out. And it just, it's nothing to do with faith or any of that. It's just having to do with, it's a small town church. The congregation was not large then. In my lifetime of going since 1970, the congregation was very minimal. It was actually, there were actually fewer people there than there had been at the Presbyterian church. But that's not what it was about. We were there. Mama was so happy that we were coming because she was a Methodist and this was her church. My mama was one of many women who devoted so much of their hearts and their lives to that church. I'm just going to say this. I adore women. I prefer women to men. I'm not talking about sexually or anything. I just think women are smarter and kinder and better people than men. And when I look back on my time in that church, I see it as a congregation that was led by the women. Strong women ran that church. In my time there, from Alice Houston Snyder was just so intent on that church running the way it should go. So I know that my mother was probably not as active in that church as some of the others because her religion thing was a bigger, wider thing. She had to go out and dabble in all of the more evangelical religions. Let's just say that. She had to go out and dabble in them. So, Mom and Daddy would be at the church and then they'd leave and then go something. They'd always come back. And I think my daddy ended up going back to that church. I do think that they removed their membership, but I never removed mine because to me it just didn't matter that much. But to this day, I'm really happy. I'm still on the roll there. When we had confirmation, which was like when you were 12 or something, and you had to meet with the preacher and talk about adult things, and you had to pledge yourself to the church. There were only two of us. It was my friend Billy Snyder and me. We had a hard time paying attention, but it worked. And now my little church is closing. And no, I haven't been there. I've not been there. I have not been there for any of the things that have gone on there. And I will tell you the truth, I've often realized, yes, it was the United Methodist Church. It was running on vapors from the big United Methodist. The church could not have existed with just a handful of people who were there in it. So tomorrow is the last sermon to be preached in that church, at least by a Methodist person. Maybe not. Maybe some other Methodist will come in and do something else. I don't know. But I sure do wish that I could be there for that couple hours of just meditation when they leave the sanctuary open. Because ever since I got this news, my mind has just been going over every square inch of that beautiful church, wondering what happened. I know what happened. So I mentioned one name. I'm going to mention 2 or 3 more names that men were leaders in that church too. They were. I think my dad was trying to be very active in that, and our dear Dr. Hendren has been there now. He's the elder. He was so young when they moved back to Bloomfield. And it was real hopeful. We had a new doctor. And a new member of our church family who had been that way since he was a child. I'm sorry, this is gross of me. I'm sorry, this is gross of me, but this is a really shitty day. And it's a really shitty weekend, and I'm sorry to say that in conjunction with my sweet little Bloomfield United Methodist Church. I had some really great times there. I had some sad times and hard times there. We all did. I'll tell you something. Betty Hendren, Martha Jane Proctor, and Joyce James. They were the last breath of that church as far as I'm concerned. And I'm not that concerned because did I do anything? I didn't. But you know what? When this happens and you look back on it, it's horrible. And the thought of our sweet church becoming, becoming the house of worship for someone who wants to paint it turquoise. Or maybe put a cafeteria in it. Maybe somebody should put a cafeteria in it and call it the United Methodist Cafe. Actually, in jest, I did suggest that. Anyway, here's my thing to my fellow Methodists or anyone who can get back there and go tomorrow. God bless you. know that I'm there with you in spirit. Not like that's important or not that I'm there. It hadn't been important enough for me to be there for 45 years. Just a great solemn moment. Just a great solemn moment. Even for a little whatever. I'm not a backslider because I never got the fever. I tried it. I prayed for that fever that so many in my family got where they're like, oh, no. I tried. I prayed for it, begged for it. Went everywhere to find it. It was not there for me. I'm not that person, which takes me back to thinking I'm Presbyterian. I think that I actually, the teachings of the Presbyterians, I have just started to pay attention to them, and I realize that in my heart I am a Presbyterian. That's all I can do and all I can deal with. But I love my little United Methodist Church where I am still on the roll. I see those little women. First time ever there, you would see the row of the Power Women, and they were much older at the time, and it was Bay Sutherland, Mrs. Russell, Anna Wood Briggs, and Mary Hayes. Did I say Bay Sutherland? Yes, I did say Bay Sutherland. Anyway, they all had their stalls on. They would wear those stalls until it got hot, and each one, I just remember thinking, isn't that nice? Each one had a stall that coordinated with the hair color that they were sporting at the time. It was. Anna Wood Briggs, hers was like a medium brown. Her sister Mary was more of a Betty White blonde. Hers was Betty White blonde. Mrs. Russell, I thought she was so lovely. She looked like a doll. Pretty little older woman, and her hair had been very dark, and it was kind of a dark with lots of gray in it, and her stole was Persian lamb that matched her hair. Leave it to me to end it up on an aesthetic thing. I'll tell you something. I love all the people of that church, even if I didn't really get along with them, and I cherish my friendships that I have with my friends from that church who recognize, and you know how many of those there are? One. I've got one friend who went to that church, and we talk about that church, and nobody else ever talks about that church to me, because everybody else kind of left it and went to a place where their kids could be more highly entertained. It's funny, because your kids still end up like being homosexuals. Look at me! There was never anybody holier than my mama and daddy, and I ain't joking. Look, y'all, I'm sick of this. I'm gonna go. I took you 12 minutes. I'm gonna go. Love lifted me. This song especially reminds me of the Bloomfield United Methodist Church, and I can hear my mama. She could carry a tune. She carried it very forcefully, very loudly, and she never was asked to join a choir. But God, what a joyful noise she would make when she was in her kitchen singing the songs that we sang at the Bloomfield United Methodist Church. Sorry, folks, 13 minutes. This may be absolutely suicide putting such emotion on here, but you know what? My church has died. So, whatever. I will mourn in my way. Bye, kids. Have a good weekend if you can. Go to the Bloomfield United Methodist Church tomorrow to their last sermon. Then hang around, look at all over that building. And know that my love is on every inch of that building. And I'm going to shut up and go.